You may think the Navy SEALs are superhuman warriors who parachute into enemy territory and save the world alone, but the real story is more brutal and psychological than you'd expect. Most candidates who fail don't quit because they're weak. The actual truth is the human brain has a shutdown mechanism during prolonged suffering, and overriding it requires mental rewiring only a fraction of people possess. We're diving into what it actually takes to become a Navy SEAL, the medical reforms after trainees die, the rebreather technology that can kill you, the psychological screening, and why 70 to 80% fail. Most people think that Navy SEALs are recruited from some secret pool of genetic super soldiers, but reality is more bureaucratic. The SEAL program evolved from underwater demolition teams during World War II and the Korean War, clearing beach obstacles and doing reconnaissance in terrible conditions. In the 1960s, the Navy formalized these units into SEAL teams for maritime special operations, river infiltration, coastal reconnaissance, direct action raids, and counter-terrorism missions that require moving through water in uncomfortable waves. Multiple SEAL teams are assigned to different geographic regions. And then there's DevGru, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, also known as SEAL Team 6, which operates as a Tier 1 unit handling missions you hear about in declassified reports decades later. The organizational structure tells you this is about individual heroics, including units, logistics, medical support, intelligence coordination, and technology integration. The lone wolf SEAL in movies is a myth. Entry requirements filter out candidates before they waste Navy resources. First, you need United States citizenship for security clearances, which is non-negotiable for classified missions. Second, you pass the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery with scores high enough for special warfare ratings, demonstrating technical aptitude under stress. Third, you pass the Physical Screening Test, a 500-yard swim in under 12.5 minutes using combat side stroke, 50 push-ups in 2 minutes, 50 sit-ups in 2 minutes, 6 pull-ups, and a timed run. Those are minimum standards, and if you show up performing at minimums, you won't survive basic underwater demolition SEAL training. Competitive candidates swim that distance in under 9 minutes, do 80 to 100 push-ups, and run times that qualify for college track teams. Vision must be correctable to 20/25, and medical clearance checks everything from cardiovascular health to joint stability, because pre-existing conditions turn into catastrophic injuries during log drills and cold surf for hours. You pass screening. Now the Navy systematically breaks down everything you thought you knew about your limits. The pipeline starts with Naval Boot Camp for standard military training. Then Naval Special Warfare Preparatory School brings your fitness up so you won't immediately collapse during Bud S. After Bud S's orientation, you're assigned to a class and realize the next 6 months will redefine your understanding of suffering. Bud S divides into 3 phases. Phase 1 focuses on physical conditioning and includes Hell Week around week 4, statistically where most voluntary dropouts occur. Candidates face 5.5 days of continuous training with less than 4 total hours of sleep, constant cold water exposure, boat carries, log training, surf zone work, and psychological pressure designed to identify who can function when their body screams to quit. Phase 2 is diving open ocean navigation, closed-circuit rebreather operations using MK series systems, breath-holding techniques, and confined water drills simulating equipment failures underwater, where technology becomes as dangerous as physical demands. Phase 3 covers land warfare, small unit infantry tactics, demolitions, breaching, live fire exercises, and patrolling under combat stress conditions. After Phase 3, you move into SEAL qualification training, which adds parachute operations, advanced tactics, and mission-specific skills that culminate in receiving your trident and assignment to a SEAL team. Hell Week lasts 5.5 days with less than 4 total hours of sleep, meaning your brain enters severe sleep deprivation, triggering hallucinations, impaired decision-making, reduced motor control, and emotional dysregulation that would qualify as mental health crisis anywhere else. Training includes repeated cold water immersions in the Pacific Ocean, causing core body temperature to drop into hypothermia ranges, and instructors monitor candidates continuously because the line between building mental toughness and causing permanent damage is thin. Candidates carry inflatable boats on their heads for miles, do calisthenics in surf zones with waves crashing over them, complete obstacle courses while soaking wet and covered in sand, and endure drown-proofing hands and feet bound while performing tasks underwater requiring breath control despite full panic mode. The attrition rate during Hell Week is massive. It's because people are physically incapable like everyone thinks, and someone not mentioned that the human brain has a survival override interpreting prolonged discomfort as life-threatening, and initiating psychological shutdown, which also causes this. The only way through is developing a mental framework separating temporary suffering from actual danger, a cognitive skill most people never acquire because modern life doesn't require it. During the diving phase, candidates train with closed-circuit rebreathers, specifically MK series systems like the MK15 and the MK16, designed to recycle exhaust breath by scrubbing out carbon dioxide and adding oxygen back, eliminating bubbles for nearly undetectable underwater infiltration. Here's where physics becomes your enemy. Oxygen becomes toxic at high partial pressures, meaning if you dive too deep or stay down too long on pure oxygen settings, you risk central nervous system oxygen toxicity causing seizures, convulsions, and unconsciousness underwater. You'll drown before anyone reaches you. The Navy has strict depth and time limits for oxygen exposure, and divers train obsessively on pre-dive checks, gas mixture calculations, and emergency procedures. But recent investigations into SEAL drownings revealed equipment configuration errors and inadequate emergency flotation training contributed to preventable deaths, triggering procedural overhauls across naval special warfare in 2024. Carbon dioxide buildup is another silent killer. If your rebreather scrubber canister becomes saturated and stops removing CO2, you experience hypercapnia, causing confusion, rapid breathing, panic, and eventual unconsciousness. Unlike Hollywood, you don't get a dramatic warning that your equipment is failing. Navy SEALs training killed people, and reforms that followed exposed systemic gaps in medical oversight and safety protocols. In 2022, candidate Kyle Mullen died shortly after completing Hell Week. An investigation revealed that he'd been using performance-enhancing drugs, raising questions about screening procedures, peer pressure, and whether instructions had adequate medical monitoring tools to detect candidates in physiological distress. The Navy responded by implementing random drug testing, increasing medical monitoring during Hell Week, and launching Department of Defense Inspector General reviews examining everything from sleep deprivation guidelines to policies governing permissible training stress. In 2024, 2 SEALs drowned during an operation, and an Associated Press investigation found training deficiencies related to emergency flotation procedures and equipment checks, leading to another wave of procedural changes. The Pentagon also began piloting wearable biometric monitoring systems, including smart rings and biosensing garments tracking heart rate, sleep quality, body temperature, and fatigue markers in real time. Because the military finally acknowledged pushing humans to their limits requires data-driven medical oversight, other than just instructor intuition and tradition. Even if you pass every test and survive every phase, your body operates at the edge of what human physiology can sustain. Prolonged sleep deprivation during Hell Week impairs your prefrontal cortex responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation, and suppresses your immune system. Candidates frequently develop pneumonia, skin infections, and other medical complications immediately after Hell Week. Cold water exposure causes peripheral vasoconstriction, where your body shuts down blood flow to extremities to preserve core temperature, and repeated exposure increases risk of non-freezing cold injuries, like trench foot and long-term nerve damage. Physical training volume causes overuse injuries, stress fractures, tendonitis, and joint degradation accumulating over months, and the Navy has medical professionals embedded in training pipelines to identify candidates whose bodies break down faster than they can recover. Here's the philosophical problem. Training is designed to find people who can push through pain signals that exist to prevent injury, meaning the very trait making someone successful in BUDs causes long-term musculoskeletal damage, and the Navy is still figuring out how to balance selection effectiveness with candidate health outcomes. What does it actually take to become a Navy SEAL? It takes baseline physical fitness, putting you in the top percentile of the general population before you start. Psychological resilience, allowing you to override survival instincts programmed into your brain over millions of years of evolution. Ability to master complex technical skills, like closed-circuit diving and demolitions, while operating under extreme fatigue and stress, and being part of a system including medical oversight, logistics support, intelligence coordination, and equipment maintenance because the lone wolf operator is propaganda. The attrition rate hovers around 70 to 80% because the selection pipeline identifies a rare combination of physical durability, cognitive flexibility, emotional regulation, and team-oriented mindset most human beings do not possess. That's biology rather than an insult. The reforms happening now include drug testing, realizing breaking humans to build operators has its limits, and sustainable performance requires treating the human body as a system needing data, recovery, and medical intervention. Even so, a willpower and tradition. The Navy SEAL Trident is earned by becoming someone who can function when everything biological, psychological, and environmental tells you to stop. And that transformation requires a support system, including medical professionals, technology, training infrastructure, and a selection process refined over decades of trial, error, and sometimes tragedy. So after learning about Hell Week, the 70 to 80% failure rate, the rebreather tech that can trigger underwater seizures, and the mental rewiring needed to override your own survival instincts, do you think you have what it takes to become a Navy SEAL? Drop your answer in the comments, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next breakdown. Because if you thought this was intense, wait until you see what it really takes to become an F-35 fighter jet pilot in real life.